Welcome to Quick Course Digest. Right now, all around you, and even inside of you, there's this hidden, sprawling universe of invisible life. In this explainer, we're diving deep into that world of microbiology to really understand the tiny engines that shape our health, our planet, and yeah, even our future.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with the fundamental building blocks, what microbes are actually made of. Then we'll decode their genetic blueprint. After that, we'll look at how some of them can cause disease, how our bodies brilliantly fight back, and finally, we'll zoom way out to see how we track these tiny organisms on a global scale.
All right, first up, the microbial machine. What are these microscopic organisms actually made of? And maybe more importantly, how in the world do they power their incredibly complex little lives?
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. At a fundamental chemical level, even the simplest little bacterium shares a common blueprint with us. We're all built from the exact same 4 essential molecular building blocks.
And here they are. Each of these macromolecules has a distinct and absolutely vital role. You've got carbohydrates, which are the main fuel source. Lipids form the cell's super important outer boundary. Proteins, well, they're the dynamic workhorses doing pretty much everything. And nucleic acids? They hold the master instruction manual for life itself.
So, a microbe's whole life is this constant energetic cycle called metabolism. You can almost think of it like a tiny cellular economy. Step 2, catabolism, is the demolition phase. It's all about breaking down fuel to release energy. That energy comes in the form of ATP, which is basically the universal energy currency for the cell. Then you have anabolism, the construction phase, which uses that ATP to build all the new parts. This elegant cycle, it's the very engine of life.
Okay, so now that we know what microbes are made of and how they get their energy, let's explore how they know what to do. And that, well, it all comes down to their genetic code.
And at the heart of that code is DNA. It is the ultimate instruction manual. This elegant double helix contains every single bit of information a microbe needs to exist. Everything from what proteins to build to how to replicate itself. It truly is the master blueprint of life, and it's carefully protected inside the cell.
But DNA doesn't work alone. This chart really shows the central partnership of genetics. A good way to think about it is that DNA is like the master blueprint, locked away safely in an architect's office for long-term storage. RNA, on the other hand, is the working photocopy you take out to the construction site. And you can see the key differences right here. RNA is a single strand. It uses a slightly different sugar. And notice in the bases row, it swaps out thymine, or T, for a base called uracil, U. It's built to be a temporary messenger, not a permanent archive.
But what happens when there's a typo in that master blueprint? Well, that's what a mutation is. It's just a tiny change in the DNA sequence. It can happen from a random copying error during replication, or it can be caused by external things like radiation.
And this is such a profoundly important concept. That tiny typo is a real double-edged sword. On one hand, mutations create the diversity that allows microbes to adapt and evolve over millions of years. But on the other hand, that exact same process is what allows a deadly bacterium to suddenly become resistant to the antibiotics we rely on to survive. So we understand how these microbes tick, but now let's kind of explore the darker side. How do some of them go from just existing in the world to actively causing disease in a host like us?
Right. So how do they do it? They aren't malicious or evil. They're just fighting for their own survival. And they make us sick by using this specialized arsenal of molecular weapons they've evolved over time, which are known as virulence factors.
These virulence factors are really what separate a harmless microbe from a dangerous pathogen. They're the specific tools that help microbes attach to our cells, hide from our immune system, and cause direct damage. And one of the most powerful types of virulence factors are toxins.
And this table just gives you a little snapshot of how devastating these weapons can be. I mean, look at diphtheria toxin. It literally shuts down our cells' protein factories, killing them from the inside out. Cholera toxin actually hijacks our intestinal cells, forcing them to pump out enormous amounts of water. And then there's endotoxin, which is part of the cell wall of certain bacteria, and it can trigger such a massive, self-destructive immune response that it can lead to shock.
So, our bodies are under potential attack by these microscopic invaders and their sophisticated weapons. But the good news is, we have an equally sophisticated, multi-layered defense system of our own, the immune system.
What's so fascinating is that our immune system is a two-pronged approach. On one side, you have the innate system. This is your fast-acting general security force. It sees something that doesn't belong and attacks immediately. On the other side, you have the adaptive system. This is your team of highly trained specialists. It's a bit slower, but it develops a custom-built attack for one specific invader, and, this is the crucial part, it remembers the enemy for next time.
And this is your army. It all starts with physical walls, like your skin. Then you've got chemical weapons, like stomach acid. If a microbe gets past all that, cellular soldiers called phagocytes, which literally means eating cells, come in and just engulf the invaders. Finally, if the threat hangs around, your adaptive special forces, the lymphocytes, are called in. B cells create antibodies that tag invaders for destruction, while T cells coordinate the whole battle and even kill our own infected cells to stop the enemy from spreading.
Okay, now let's zoom out. Let's go from the battle happening inside one person to the entire population. How do we track and manage microbial diseases on a global scale? This is the world of epidemiology.
This chart here lays out the vocabulary that public health officials use, and understanding these terms is really critical. An endemic disease, like the common cold, is something that's always around at a low, predictable level. An epidemic is when you see a sudden spike above that expected level in a specific region. And a pandemic? Well, that's when an epidemic escapes its borders and spreads all across the globe.
So how do we spot an epidemic before it becomes a full-blown pandemic? The key is something called surveillance. It's a systematic, constant process of collecting and analyzing health data to look for threats.
And this is the toolkit that makes it all happen. It starts with doctors and clinicians reporting cases of specific diseases. That data flows into organizations like the CDC, where analysts act like detectives, looking for patterns, for trends. This whole process turns thousands of individual patient reports into actionable intelligence that can protect entire communities. So, from the genetic code inside a single cell to the vast global networks we've built to monitor them, it's so clear that our relationship with the microbial world is one of the most important stories on Earth. The real question isn't just how we fight them, but how we learn to coexist. In this invisible battle that's always happening, what's our next move going to be?